Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Hey, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started, if that's okay. Is everyone in this room planning on staying in this room? Yeah? Awesome. So I am Sam, or Samantha Davis. I use she, they pronouns, and I am coming here from DC, but representing PCUSA. I'm part of REWIM, the women, right now the Racial Equity Women's Intercultural Ministries, and I'm the associate in their Office of Racial and Gender Justice. So today, if you are staying in here, then we're going to be talking about creating welcoming environment spaces for all people. Through that, we're going to be using a framework that comes from what we call the 8 Habits of Evangelism, Radical Welcome. And so really thinking about what it is in our day-to-day experiences that we can do more intentionally to ensure that we're going beyond the surface and that people truly feel welcomed and included, safe and affirmed in any spaces that we're creating. Because we're going to be having, the hope is that this is going to be a conversation. I'll have some specific activities. I'll give you some context, but more so want to really be talking with you all and to create space for you all to talk to one another. So we're going to offer some community agreements to help us navigate these conversations. These are the ones. Okay, it's bigger for you than it is for me, which is fine. These are the ones I'm offering. Lean into curiosity. So sometimes in difficult conversations, it is human nature that when something is foreign to us, when something is unfamiliar to us, that we disengage. We disengage emotionally, we might disengage physically, we might draw back, we might look down. And so my ask for you all is if something that might feel uncomfortable, if something might come up that might feel difficult or new for you, that you pay attention to what's happening in your body, what's happening with your emotions and with your mind, and instead of cutting off, instead of disconnecting, be a bit curious about what that is. Why am I disconnecting from that, right? Like, what's coming up for me? What are my experiences that's making me draw back from that? Be curious about what that person is saying. What do they mean by that? What experiences have informed them to name that in this space? So lean into curiosity. Mutual respect. We all chose to be here today. We all chose to be in this specific workshop. And therefore, let's make the good assumption that we are all on this journey together and that we're all coming from a place of good intentions. And let's respect that. Let's respect the person. Maybe we disagree with the idea, but let's at least respect the person and hold that mutual respect for folk. Step up, step back. Some people are external processors, which means, like myself, which means that we can take up some space in conversations. Be mindful of that. Some of us are internal processors. I know nothing about that. But what I have experienced in large settings as a facilitator, sometimes that means I don't hear from y'all as much. And I would love to hear from you all. Everyone has value in this space. And so just for us to be mindful about how we're showing up and how we're actually speaking verbally in this space to give space for everyone to share. One mic. We are going to ask for one person to be speaking at a time unless we are doing something together that requires us to all sing or talk or chant at the same time. So be mindful of that. There might be some side conversations. Again, one of the things that comes up when we're having difficult conversations or new conversations is people might be intrigued. They might not be ready to move on, and so you start having side conversations. If you're not ready to move on, let me know. Maybe others aren't ready to move on, and then we can do that. Another thing that might happen when we're having difficult conversations is humor is a way that our body processes those things, and so you might have a joke to tell. Instead of telling your friend, tell me. I love hearing jokes as well. So if you're having an inkling to share a joke or to have some side conversations, let's bring it into the space so that we can all join that together. And then productive discomfort. So I want to have this conversation about discomfort. I've been mentioning this in the last couple minutes a lot. When we're having conversations around racial justice, gender justice, LGBTQIA inclusivity, those are conversations that are intended specifically to talk about oppression and ways that people in this country, in this world, have been marginalized, right? There are people in this room with those identities, okay? Whether it's obvious or not, there are people in this room with those identities. And so we're holding this tension between comfort and safety. Those are two different things. People with privileged identities tend to conflate the two. We tend to think that if we're uncomfortable, that we are unsafe. That is not true, okay? And so we want to be really mindful. All of this that I'm naming is for us to be able to be self-aware and really think intentionally about ourselves, not what other people are doing. And so really want you all to be mindful. If feelings of discomfort are coming up, discomfort's usually like, oh, that might go against my culture or values, that might be unknown to me, that might be foreign to me, that might be holding me accountable, right? That might be rubbing me the wrong way for some reason. That's discomfort. Safety is this thing is being said, this idea, this person is acting in a certain way that is actually causing me emotional or physical harm because of past and or current experiences, right? And so I want us to hold that delicate balance between safety and comfort. My commitment to you as a facilitator is to create as safe of a space as possible. My hope is that I'm going to make you all uncomfortable. Why? Because that is where growing happens, that's where change happens, that's where shift happens. If you're always in a state of comfort, then unfortunately that means you're not growing. You're not being challenged. And so productive discomfort is our goal, and just be mindful of if what you're feeling is actually something that is a question of your safety, or if it's just a question of your comfort. Okay? Is there anything else from an accessibility standpoint, in order for you to feel present and to engage in conversation, is there anything that you want to add here? And I can give an example. I'm here seeing thumbs up. I can talk, when I get passionate particularly, I can talk really fast. So an accessibility thing could be, hey, can you slow down when you're speaking? Or maybe you might be hard of hearing. An accessibility thing could be, can you make sure everyone uses a mic, right? It might be, sometimes my back starts hurting, and so I pace, so just know that I'll start pacing. It might be, hey, every now and then I just need like a break, or I need to like walk around the room, what have you. Any of those types of things. Yep, the freedom to have the space to take care of yourself while you're in this room. Okay, thank you. All right, let's just practice some enthusiastic consent. If you agree to holding these community agreements, can you show by cheering, clapping, thumbs up? There we go. Woo! Love it, love it, love it. Thank you all very much. Quick agenda. We already went over the community agreements. I hope you all feel welcome to the space. We are going to be diving into some activities that are going to help us both potentially learn or relearn some new concepts, and unlearn some of the ways that we might be moving through spaces. And then we're going to make some commitments to ourselves and to one another. This is me. I have been in the Presbyterian denomination all of my life. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been a part of the PCUSA in a staff capacity for 3 years, but prior to that, I was a part of self-development of people, and did some work on the Black Women's Advocacy Task Force. Outside of the church, I am in the community, so do a lot of activism work and organizing work, particularly with Black youth in Washington, D.C., and have recently been doing a lot of work around statehood and making sure that the people of D.C. have our full agency and autonomy. So that's me. I mostly actually show this slide because I really like this picture of me. So, geez. And the t-shirt, right? I love it. Thank you. So we're going to dig into our first activity. If you have any piece of paper, it could be the agenda, it could be the program. We only need like an edge. I would love for you all to draw these 9 dots. If you have a neighbor next to you, if you don't have a piece of paper and you have a neighbor next to you, if you can share a piece of paper. It does not need to be a big piece. The focus should be on the 9 dots. That box around it is just to suggest the paper. And I'm going to give you a couple rules. Your task is to connect all 9 dots, so having a line go through all 9 dots, using 4 straight lines or less. 4 straight lines or less. You can't retrace a line, and you can't pick up your writing utensil for whatever reason to make that happen. Those are the only rules. Connect all 9 dots, 4 straight lines or less. You can't retrace a line, and you can't jump dots. And go. Connect all 9 dots using 4 straight lines or less. You can't retrace the line. And you can't retrace and you can't jump. I don't know why you would do that, but you can't like jump to do that. Has anyone else got it? Nope. Is that 4 lines?
One continuous line?
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, that doesn't work. I was just curious if it was 4 lines. Okay, it looked like 5. I was just more. That does not work. But I was just like, and also I don't think that's 4 lines. No, these aren't connected. Who is sitting here? This person has it. Who is this person? Okay. Steve. Steve, can you come up and show us how to do this? Redo it, right. We can cross the line. You just couldn't retrace the lines. Did anyone else have it? It is. Why? What was needed in order to do this? There's one specific thing you had to do to make this work. Get out the box. Go outside the box. Mm-hmm. Did I ever say to stay inside the box? No. Why did we all have trouble doing that? And even Steve, right, when he came up here, Steve said, let me think about how I did that, right? It still took him a moment to be like, okay, let me remember how I did that. Even though you knew that you had to go outside the box, you still had to take a moment to figure it out. Why was it so difficult for us to see that? We live in boxes. Good. Can everyone hear, or I can repeat if it feels low to me, but I also have another mic up here. We are accustomed to looking at what's there, not what's not there. Okay. Mm-hmm. What else? We presume rules that are not necessarily there. We put our own, we like rules for some reason. And so even though I only gave you 2 rules, really, we were looking for more, right? So we do this activity when we're starting to talk about radically welcoming spaces, because this is a very small, simple way to describe what we are dealing with on our day-to-day basis when we are engaging with people. What do I mean by that? The reason why it was so hard for us to look outside the box is because we are conditioned or socialized to see a box. At a very early age, fun fact, I have 3-year-old twins. They just turned 3. Thanks. All the prayers needed. I have 21-year-old twins who will make it. Thank you. Truly, that's really affirming, because every time I see people, I'm like, we are all here somehow. Like, we made it somehow, so thank you. But they're starting to learn how to color, and specifically color within the lines, right? So at a very early age, at 2 and 3 years old, we were taught to color within the lines. And what happens when my Journey or Kemar do not color within the lines when they go to school? They either don't get a sticker, or, right, they're corrected, which is why some of us have trouble putting pen to paper. Right? But you're getting some signs from society that if you don't think this way, if you don't react this way, behave this way, then this will happen, or then this will not happen. That is called conditioning. That is called socialization. This is obviously a very small way to think about what that is, but our bodies really don't know the difference, right? So what were the emotions that you were feeling while you were going through this activity? Just shout them out. Annoyed. Annoyed is hilarious. Frustration. What else? Anxiety about getting it wrong. Anxiety, not wanting to get it wrong. Feeling dumb, yep, not being able to crack the code. Embarrassed. Right, despair. Woo, woo. Right, all of those things are coming up in this small activity. Imagine What is coming up in our bodies when it's actually meaning how do we treat one another? How do we welcome one another? How do we undo all of the biases that we know that we have, right? All of those things are coming up at once. And so in order to do that, we have to actively unlearn the things that we are taught. So we have to unlearn and continue to practice what it means to think outside the box. I've done this activity millions of times, literally. And if you notice, I was not the one to do this. Why? Is because I still struggle with this. Right? Even though I have practiced it time and time and time again, if y'all were to ask me to do this right now, just like Steve did, I would sit here and I would be like, I know it has to go outside the box, but I can't quite figure it out. That is the power of conditioning and socializing. It's not enough just to say that I need to think outside the box. You actually actively have to practice time and time again in order for your brain and your body to learn something new. So we're going to talk about some different ways to do that. Oh, and also just to name, there's different ways, supposedly, there's different ways you can do this. Just to name, even though we had to think outside the box, we also had to know that there's more than one way to navigate spaces. I kind of disagree with this, but I have been challenged that this indeed does meet the criteria. I did a session with a bunch of younger people. And this was the first time I actually saw someone do it in real life. They tore the paper. It's funny because while they were doing it, I was like, they tore the paper. They did the 9 dots, and they tore the paper, and they just lined up each row and got a pen and drew right through it. And I'm like, well, God darn. You could do that, right? And so there's a number of ways we can do this, but we hold ourselves in a container. So let's get into welcome. I want us to close our eyes for a moment. It's funny that someone mentioned therapy earlier, and now I feel like I'm doing all the therapy things. If we can relax, have our feet planted on the floor. You can put your hands, rest them on your lap, either palms down or palms up, whichever feels comfortable for you. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can just soften your gaze. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. Keep your eyes closed, and I want you to go back to a memory, maybe in your childhood, maybe your early adult life, and think about a time that brought you an immense amount of comfort. You were feeling very comfortable, all or maybe most of your needs were met. You were feeling safe also. You were feeling welcomed. You were happy. It was a joyous time. I want you to go a bit deeper into that memory. Who was there? Tap into your senses. What were you hearing? What were you seeing? Was there food involved? What were you smelling? What were you tasting? Any touch? Any warm hugs? When you're locked into that memory, as we come out, I want you to think of 3 emotions that come up for you. 3 emotions that come up for you. And you can rejoin us back into this space. Open your eyes. Welcome back. Loosen your shoulders or your jaw. Okay. Would love to hear from a few folk a little bit about that memory.
So my grandfather, in my early high school days before I could drive, used to pick me up from school and or baseball practice. And I would go over to my grandparents' house and demolish their pantry. And then often fall asleep on the couch while they were watching Jeopardy.
Love it. Thank you. What were some of the emotions that came up for you?
Just whatever the emotion of a hug is.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was always enough.
Mm-hmm.
So abundance
Mm-hmm.
and unconditional love.
Love it. Thank you. Yeah, for two more people. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Thank you. What birthday was this, you said? 7th? Okay. Yep. One more person.
The last time I saw my grandmother, it was Christmas, and I was in the 7th grade, and she woke us up in the middle of the night to sneak into the living room to see the presents. We thought of her as very strict and cranky. And so my last memory of my grandmother was that she was hilarious and fun. And so there was surprise, there was connection, and just like now that's the overriding memory of my grandmother was that 2, 3 in the morning we wake up. What a strange, crazy thing to do.
Thank you. So there'll be an opportunity for folk to share in just a moment, to turn to each other and share a little bit more. But I like starting with that activity because when we start talking about how do we create welcoming, safe, affirming spaces, sometimes it feels overwhelming. Sometimes like, where do you start? I have no idea what that means. And I like to challenge that right off front, is that we actually know, most of us hopefully know, have some level of experience on what it feels like to be welcomed, to be affirmed. And for those with marginalized identities, maybe those are unfortunately fewer between and far between. But at some point, I would hope and like to think that we had a glimpse into what it means to feel welcomed and safe. And so we do know what environments should look like and what they can look like, what they should feel like. On the other end, most of us have also felt what it means to feel unwelcome, to feel unsafe. And I would say that regardless of our identities, regardless of our beliefs, that there is not any one person who should ever feel that. And so it is our goal in creating these spaces that we are moving away from things that make people feel harmed or unsafe, unwelcomed, and we're leading into the love and the joy that some of us just described in this room today. I want you to either turn to a neighbor. If there's someone that you're just like really wanting to talk to, you can get up and go talk to them as well. But we're gonna try to just do this in a pair of 2, if that works. I didn't count off. If we can move now so I can see if we need to have a group of 3 or 4. And what I'm going to ask you all to do, try two. It looks like two is three. There's 1 3. Okay. There's 3 threes, or 2 threes. Okay, y'all are 2. Nope, I would rather do 2 and 2, so y'all could just turn 2 and 2. It's gonna be easier for the activity if they're, okay. The 3 will work, it's okay. So, we are going to practice something called active listening. Do we know what active listening is? Can someone quickly give a definition? What's active listening?
What I hear you saying is that we should be listening for what the person is saying and making sure that we can help them by our nods, and then repeating back to them what they're saying.
Yep. So active listening, we're not going to do the repeat back yet. Active listening is something that we actually are not very good at. Because we tend to listen in order to make our own point versus listening to actually understand what that person is saying, right? We're as someone's talking, we're gearing up to be able to respond versus let me just sit here and digest and actually receive what this person is telling me before I say anything. So we are going to have this practice of active listening where I'm going to ask, we'll start with the first question. So some of you all are going to hear this story twice because 3 people already shared. Share with the person in 90 seconds or less, but 90 seconds, what memory you had, what joyous memory you had. Okay? We'll start there. We'll stop. If you're the person listening, do not interrupt. Do not ask further questions. Try to be mindful of your body language, not in a inauthentic way, but just be mindful of your body language to listen and receive what that person is saying. Okay? Then I'm going to pause you. We're going to thank them. We're going to go to the next person that's going to share theirs. Okay? So talk to your partner. See who's going to go first. Say, hi, my name is, right? Introduce yourself first. And I'm actually going to set a timer. And you all can go. If the same person is talking, we're going to start landing the plane. We're going to start landing the plane. Switch your partner if you have not switched your partner yet. Thank you. Switch your partner if you have not switched your partner yet. Okay, start landing your planes. Finish that last thought. We're wrapping up the conversation. Okay. I know you are done either because you got up or because you're looking at me. Okay, thank you. Love it. Did we thank our people? Can we thank them really quick? Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. Did y'all get to a conversation or did we actually just listen and share? We just listened? Y'all got to the conversation? It's okay. It's okay. Go back to the just listening part. What did you know? The person, well, I guess both. As a listener, what did you notice? What felt important for you to be mindful as a listener? How were you showing that you were actually active listening? Eye contact, nodding, smiling. That's, yeah, really being paying attention to where you are focusing. And so focusing on the conversation, not as many wandering thoughts. Anything else you noticed?
I noticed I felt twice my watch buzz with some kind of notification.
Mm-hmm.
And this temptation, I don't think I did, but that temptation to sort of like that.
Yep. Being very mindful of the distractions and potential to like disengage. Did they look?
The effort to block out all the other stuff that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's like actual effort. Like you had to actively focus on like, let me block out the noise. So we do this activity in a crowded room with you all next to each other because that's part of what it means to active listen. Is maybe you're not in a crowded space with people talking right behind you. But maybe it is, I have phone notifications going off. I have these other things to think about. All these things that keep us from actually being present in that very moment and what that person is trying to articulate to us. So good noticing. There was a hand up somewhere. Yes.
So I listened second, and my partner did such a good job listening. I wanted to do right by her.
Yep.
So it was an encouragement to really zero in and to be present.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it shows the example and the need to model. How are we modeling behavior? How are we modeling expectations? When we're talking about creating a welcoming environment, active listening is one of the first tools that we need to be able to practice and to be able to do. Because we're specifically offering a space for people who might not know us very well, might be coming with a lot of negative experiences, particularly in a church setting, who might not feel safe, who might have past experiences that are forcing them to maybe disengage. And we need to make sure that they know that we are present, that we're listening to them, that we're in tune. And also, we are trying to create inclusive spaces and environments. And the main way we do that is by being a model, right? And we'll get into this a little bit, but when we're talking about inclusivity for gender or LGBTQIA inclusivity, the easiest way that we can model that this is a safe space is by using pronouns. Easiest way that we can signal that, hey, this is a safe space for you. If you don't use traditional pronouns, then this is a safe space. Y'all might not have noticed, but I introduce myself with pronouns, and I do that in every space. It's not just because I'm holding a mic. I could be at a meeting with people who I see every single day, and I will still say, hey, y'all, Sam, she, they, right? But why? Because it's modeling to other people how they can engage in that space, but it's also signifying to those who are at the margins that this is a safe space for you. So that modeling, even in active listening, is a way that we can see how the inclusivity can continue to like grow and breed in spaces. As the person who was sharing, how did it feel to you both to have to share for 90 seconds with someone who maybe you don't know that well? And what was helpful for you to know that you were being listened to, that you were affirmed?
All those same behaviors
Mm-hmm.
back to you. So eye contact, nodding, affirming statement at the end.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Body position or open.
Open body position, yep. Anything else? Did it feel weird or awkward to be sharing a somewhat personal story?
You did feel like you needed to fill the 90 seconds, so maybe you told your story fast, and you're like, keep going there.
Yep. Okay, we're going to do this one more time. Have all of those things in mind because we're going to go a little deeper. We're going to talk about harm or not feeling safe. Spectrum, 1 to 10. We do not have the capacity to hold all of the emotions in this space. And so let's get at maybe a 6 or 7. Don't share a story that's going to debilitate you for the rest of the day. So go for a 6 or 7 of this question of when was a time that you have felt unsafe, that you have felt harmed, or at the very least not welcomed. You can take a moment and think about that. And then I want you to turn to the same partner and share 90 seconds that story. And we'll go back. We'll do 90 seconds. I'll announce when it's time to switch. But if it feels like a natural switch, you can go ahead and switch. So take a moment and think about that. It doesn't have to be in a church setting. It could just be more broadly. It doesn't have to be when you were young. It could have been yesterday. Okay, and as you're ready, you can turn to your partner. If you haven't switched partners yet, go ahead, start wrapping up your conversation and switch. The next person should be sharing. Start finishing up your last thought. We should be landing our planes. Wrapping up your last thought. When everyone has shared, if you can thank your partner and turn back to me so that I know that you all are done. Thank you. Y'all are like A students, A plus. Okay. Conversations are wrapping up. A few times. A few times. Okay. Are the folks still talking, still finishing their stories, or just engaging in conversation? This is a group of 3, so I'm assuming they're still finishing their story. We're good? We're good? Okay. You're like, one more thing. Okay, we're gonna bring these back in. If you all can stretch your hands up to the sky, stretch, 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 stretch. Reach, 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 reach. If you can reach out to your side, don't hit someone. Reach, reach. Just gotta move, get present, back present in our bodies a little bit. Maybe roll your neck a little bit. Yawn. I was gonna say that next. Some sometimes our bodies just naturally do it. Okay. If anything else feels good to your body right now, you can do that. Shake your legs, whatever. Stand up, do some jumping jacks, whatever feels right for your body right now. But let's take one really deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Okay. Thank you. Want to recognize that we were talking about things that potentially did not feel so great to our bodies, but hopefully, because we were practicing active listening, we felt a bit more safer to do that, and at least affirmed and heard to be able to do that. Is there anything top of mind about that experience or about what you heard that you want to lift up in this space in terms of themes, things that you were feeling, anything that you want to lift up?
I felt like it was more difficult to stay in the space of active listening, wanting to bring solutions or process it.
Yeah. So because it was on the problem side of it, because people were explicitly naming something that's caused them harm or made them feel unsafe, your knee-jerk is the wrong way, but your response was to want to fix and help solve. That's a good noticing. Anything else? Any other noticings?
One thing I noticed about both the stories, my story and the story that I heard, was about this is how I was in the world and how I thought the world was, and then I realized in this moment it wasn't. Or it wasn't all that I thought it was. And so that, even though our stories were very, very different, and there was a core, like, this is against my raising. Like, I didn't know this was real. And that sort of slap in the face, or, I don't know, brutal reality, whatever. Like, for me, it was a through line for both stories, even though the stories were very different contexts and very different experiences.
Yeah. And that is I would imagine that is a common, I wonder who else has that, maybe not in the story that you named, but has there been a point where it is kind of like a reality, like, oh, what I've experienced growing up or what I thought was true might not actually be true or might not be true for everyone. Has that occurred for folk? Have people had that experience? Yeah. Anything else, any other noticings, either about the active listening part or about the stories?
I was going to say, one of the things that I heard in the stories that were shared was just how hard it is to sometimes, even if you're experiencing unsafeness, that it's hard to get out of sometimes. Like, there's reasons that keep us there, that make us feel like we should stay, and so you often can stay in a not good place for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah. We would call that, so there's different things that we can call that. One thing from this lens is internalized oppression. So those particularly of oppressed identities, and everyone has oppressed identities, but those who have oppressed identities, if you are experiencing unsafety or not feeling safe because of that, one of the things that we do, one of the greatest tools, I think, of the oppressor is for us to internalize and try to make sense of what we're experiencing. So I'm feeling this because maybe I was too loud, or maybe I did something wrong, or maybe I should straighten my hair, maybe I should dress differently, maybe I should have did this differently. And then so kind of taking the blame and internalizing what is being said, that keeps us in one place at the same time because we try to justify what's happening based off of our own behaviors. So that's often it's something that happens with survivors. It's something that happens with folk of marginalized identities. Like, we kind of justify what we're experiencing based off of our own behaviors, which, just to validate anyone in this room, is never our fault for experiencing that type of those types of behaviors. Anything else that wants to be named? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yep, absolutely.